We're good? All right. Good morning. This December 23rd, 2020 meeting of the Board of Estimates is now called to order. In the interest of promoting health and safety, as we continue to deal with COVID-19 pandemic, the Board of Estimates continues to meet virtually. At this time, I will ask Comptroller Henry for any corrections or additions to today's agenda.
Thank you, Mr. President. There are no changes or corrections on today's agenda. No additional protests were received for today's meeting. There are no deferrals or withdrawals. We are moving 4 items to non-routine. On page 7, Department of Audit's audit report, Baltimore City Health Department Biennial Performance Audit Report, fiscal years ended June 30, 2019 and 2018. On page 108, Bureau of the Budget and Management Research Grant Agreement. On page 117, 118, item number 9, Bureau of Procurement, B50006094, Group 1 SUVs, medium and heavy-duty vehicles. A protest was received from Terex Utilities Incorporated. And on page 118 to 119, item number 10, Bureau of Procurement B50006095, Group 2 SUVs, medium and heavy-duty vehicles. A protest was received from Terex Utilities Incorporated. No items being moved to routine. There are several abstentions. The Honorable Mayor Brandon Scott on page 1617 is abstaining on the portion of item number 8 for Department of Human Resources, adjusting the salary of the mayor effective January 1, 2021. The Honorable President Nick Mosby is abstaining on page 1617, item number 8, Department of Human Resources, the section adjusting the salary of the council president effective January 1, 2021. Also on pages 150 through 153, items 1, 2, and 3, retroactive travel approval reimbursement, Office of the State's Attorney. I am abstaining on page 16 to 17, item number 8, Department of Human Resources, adjusting the salary of the comptroller, effective January 1, 2021. Acting Solicitor, Mrs. Dana Moore, and Acting DPW Director, Mr. Matthew Garber, have no abstentions. And that is all the changes we have. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. Comptroller. I would direct the board's attention to the memorandum from my office dated December 21st, 2020, identifying matters to be considered as routine agenda items together with any corrections and additions that have been noted by the Comptroller. I will entertain a motion to approve all items contained on the routine agenda.
Good morning. I move approval of all items on the routine agenda.
Second.
It's been properly moved in second. All those in favor of approving all the items on the routine agenda, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, please say nay. Okay, the ayes have it. The routine agenda has been adopted. The first item of non-routine agenda can be found on page 7, Department of Audits, the audit report. This is the Baltimore City Health Department Biennial Performance Audit for fiscal years ending June 30th, 2018-2019. We will hear from the City Auditor now. Mr. Auditor, the floor is yours.
We don't seem to have the city auditor in the panelists. Oh, there he is.
I think he's on now, Mr. Comptroller. And Mr. Auditor, the floor is yours. Hey, Josh, are you able to hear us? How's the camera?
Is he in?
Mr. Auditor, are you able to hear us? No.
We're trying to reach him by phone to make certain he knows that he is live.
Okay. It seems like the video's working, so.
Yeah. He might not know that he has to use the computer audio.
Mr. President, could we go out of order and perhaps go to page 108 and then return to page 7 for the audit report?
Definitely. You guys having a hard time getting a hold of him?
Oh, well, we've texted him, but it doesn't seem to be
okay.
resolved.
Okay, guys, so we'll move on and we'll come back to the next item on the non-routine agenda can be found on page 108, Bureau of Budget Management Research. This is a grant agreement. This grant agreement relates to CARES Act, support of Visit Baltimore. And Mr. Hutchinson, the floor is yours. I'm sorry, as well as BBMR. I'm sorry. Let's take Mr. Fox-Enemy first from BBMR.
Mr. President, I think we actually have Director Raymond on from Finance.
All right, Director Raymond, are you going to talk to us about this today?
Yes, sir. Good morning, Mr. President, Mr. Mayor, honorable members of the board. I'm Henry Raymond, Director of Finance. This agenda item is a $5 million grant of CARES Act funding awarded from U.S. Treasury. The $5 million was awarded to Visit for the purpose of assisting small businesses, and the funding has to be spent by December 30th, 2020. The update on that is recently the federal government has extended the CARES Act funding through December 30 of 2021. This is a new development. So we did make the award of $5 million to Visit Baltimore, and Mr. Hutchinson can speak to the purposes and the uses of the funds.
Thank you, Director Raymond, and Mr. President.
I'm sorry, Mr. Hutchinson, if you could hold on 1 second. Just want to make sure while we have the Director of Finance up, are there any questions from the board to Mr. Henry Raymond?
Just one, Mr. President. So,
Mr. Comptroller?
Yeah, so Mr. Raymond, well, first of all, I think that's good news. So I'm glad to hear that. My question is, if we had made awards from the amount of CARES Act money we'd received, we had made awards under the impression that they had to be made and the money used by December 31st of this year. And now we know that we have an extra, we have an extra time in order to spend that same pot of money. That does not change our ability to go back and reallocate money that we had already awarded, does it?
It does not. It does not change that.
Okay, just wanted to check that. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Gotcha. Are there any other questions from the board?
Mr. President, this is Matt Carbark.
Yes, Matt.
Director Raymond, just a quick question. Has this CARES Act extension been signed by the President? I thought that there was some discussion that he might veto it.
That is true. Right now, the legislation, as approved, extends the original CARES Act through December 30 of 2021. All of our funds, the city's $103 million is fully committed. But if it does stand and we have another year, it does give us more flexibility if events change in terms of the spending.
Mr. Raymond, I think that the point you were making was that there was a limited amount of time in which we had to identify suitable sources in the city to actually spend the money on, and that's why you guys went down the path of allocating it the way that you allocated.
That's correct, Mr. President. That's correct.
And I guess what you're saying now is potentially with the legislation that might come out of D.C., that might have changed, but we didn't necessarily know that information, say, in October.
Oh, we absolutely did not. In October, we were pursuing December 30, 2020 as the cutoff date.
I just wanted to put that on the record.
Yep.
At this point, are there any other additional questions or concerns from the board?
Good morning. This is Acting Solicitor Dana Moore.
Hey, Madam Solicitor.
Good morning. If I might be recognized. I just want to make it very, very clear that the possibility of an extension is just a possibility. Until it happens, we can't act on what might happen, and we know that there is so much flux and uncertainty coming out of Washington, D.C., and waiting for a firm, solid, permanent green light from the current President of the United States of America could end up costing us the loss of these funds, and that is a risk that the City of Baltimore cannot take. And just want to recognize Director Raymond's decision to press forward with the law as it now exists and preserving those funds for the City of Baltimore and her citizens.
Thank you, Madam Solicitor. Are there any additional questions for Director Raymond? I believe we have Mr. Hutchinson on from City of Baltimore.
Good morning, Mr. President, Mr. Mayor, and Board of Estimate members. Good morning, and thank you for the opportunity to brief you on how Visit Baltimore was able to use the CARES grant money. We were grateful. We didn't ask for the money, but we were grateful to receive it from the city via the federal government. And really, there were two outcomes that we were looking for with the spend. Number one was, how do we create a safe travel message for folks to come to Baltimore, wear their masks, practice social distancing, and take advantage of all the other safety protocols in place. And this was in October, when Baltimore City was in phase 2. 50% capacity at restaurants, casinos, most places of business. We were at 50% capacity. So at that point in October, when we received the money, we had less than 90 days to produce ads, commercials, messaging, because based on today's legislation, it had to be produced and spent by December 30th, 2020. So our marketing team had to really jump through hoops in a very short period of time to create some messaging. People were traveling in October to communities. Baltimore was still open, and what our focus was on was to help support small businesses that were struggling and were getting clobbered during that time period. So we reached out and created safe travel messaging, and we created $500,000 was spent on creative development and production and labor to produce videos, TV, streaming TV, radio, print ads, and billboards. We also had planned for $4 million for media spend, but some of that was placed on hold, which I'll talk about in a second. But we also used part of this money to produce a video about safety protocols for folks who would visit the convention center, and that cost $35,000 to produce that video. And then we also spent $65,000 to distribute our visitors guides up and down I-95 from Boston to as far south as Richmond, including Pittsburgh, during that time period. And so the safe travel messaging was always a part of this, because based on federal legislation, it was very specific on what the messaging could be. It could not be used for payroll, could not be used for any operation costs. You could only use it for marketing with a safe travel message. So we not only worked with the city, but we worked with Ernst & Young, who was the city's partner, to make sure the money was spent in a upfront way. So the second outcome was, how do we support our small businesses with PPE, both hand sanitizers and masks? Because our small businesses, as most of us know, were struggling and they were getting very few resources. So we partnered with 5 minority manufacturing companies, SoLab, Citywide Youth Development, Different Regard, Chase Street Accessories, Jody Davis Design, and Curry Printing to produce masks and produce hand sanitizers that we could take and deliver to small businesses. We produced over 22,000 masks, 13,000 PPE kits, and we have since delivered that to small museums, to restaurant tours, to hotels, and also we're able to support minority businesses with some revenue during a very hard time so they could keep labor on their teams. In addition to the spend, we also spent about $75,000 on temperature testing for air purifying equipment that we could provide to small businesses, 50 thermometers, 10 wrist scanners. And again, we wanted to provide safety protocols to small businesses who could not afford to do it. In fact, a lot of the small businesses in Baltimore, their entire marketing budgets were slashed. So Visit Baltimore became a de facto marketing company for hotels, restaurants, and attractions. So we wanted to see if we could partner and use some of this money to help support these small businesses. What I will say to you is on December the 11th, when we went back to phase 1 and tightened restrictions, that was on a Friday. On Monday, we pulled TV ads, we pulled radio ads, we pulled them down, and we also pulled our billboards down 2 days after the city tightened restrictions, because we wanted to be in proper alignment with Mayor Scott and the administration. What we also did, we took the billboards that were giving a message of we are ready to travel. We changed that messaging to support our restaurants with carry out and delivery on billboards. Our messaging that we pulled down, we had also partnered with a local Baltimorean, Kondwani Fidel, who was our voiceover for our messaging, an East Baltimore Baltimorean who was a part of that. But we did pull it down. We pivoted because we wanted to be in proper alignment with the city and also in proper alignment with our health protocols, because we didn't want people visiting Baltimore if we were not really open for travel. So my message is, as we rolled out the support of small businesses to a person, hotels, small businesses, a number of these were minority-owned businesses, they were very supportive of us delivering PPE to them, because we gave them some sense of hope. And so I think the money was spent very well, but also I think the very important message is that we pivoted at the right time once we knew that we went to tighter restrictions and we pulled down all advertising. And I'm grateful for the support from both the city as well as from the federal government. And we work very closely with Ernst & Young. We will be more than happy to provide this body with itemized account of how the money was spent with the different organizations. So I thank you, Mr. President, and hope
thank you. Thank you, Mr. Hutchinson. Just a couple quick questions for me.
Yes.
The assumption is Baltimore City, as it relates to your entity, that's not unique for major American cities, particularly in this competitive environment on the East Coast, to try to focus on driving traffic to our small businesses and to our restaurants and shops, particularly as it relates to when folks were afraid to get on planes and the like, but we're doing more staycations. Was that kind of the logic at the time?
That was the logic, and I always talk to my counterparts all across the country, Philly, D.C., Boston, New York. They received CARES Act money as well in tourism, and we ran the same play that they ran. They want folks to come visit their cities, but do it safely.
So the crux of the matter is, what I'm gathering is that you didn't want to put Baltimore City small businesses at a competitive disadvantage.
Correct. Plus, I wanted to do our little part to try to keep these small businesses open and keep their employees, who most live in Baltimore City, working.
Gotcha. Okay. At this point, are there any additional questions from the board for Mr. Hutchinson?
I have questions, Mr. President.
Yes, Mr. Comptroller, you have the floor.
Thank you. Mr. Hutchinson, I am in receipt, let me make sure I can pull it up here, of an attachment to this item request on the board that has what purports to be a breakdown of how the $5 million was supposed to be spent. It lists GBAC support, it lists the PPE, it lists the packages for safe touchless travel, it lists the video production, PPE for customers, and then there's a chunk for Marcom. Is Marcom a local marketing company?
No, Marcom is an acronym for Marketing and Communication.
Oh, okay. So it's not the name of the particular place. Okay.
Marcom is our team within Visit Baltimore that really produced this work.
Okay. So literally 90% of this money, 44.5 million of the 5 million, went to Marcom. You listed a lot of things that were done with this grant, but most of those things that you listed were done with 10% of the money, and $4.5 million was for creative concepting, creative production, and then media inserts. $4 million for local, regional, and national media. How much of that were you able to claw back when we pivoted?
I think we have remaining, Mr. Comptroller, about $700,000 that went unspent and would go back to. And keep in mind, the money that we spent in the media, we had to pull back, so we couldn't use a lot of it because we pivoted. So we spent for production work, because you have to spend to create these ads in production, but we weren't able to max out on it fully.
Okay, so we spent, from the looks of this, we spent $500,000 producing the pieces, and then we had a $4 million budget to run them, and you're saying that we spent, if we have $700,000 left, so we spent $3.3 million running ads to get people to safely travel during a pandemic to Baltimore, to support local Baltimore businesses.
Correct. And again, that marketing was really the big component of how this money could be used. It's based on a very tight time period, Mr. Comptroller. We received this in October, and it had to be spent. This wasn't not our rule. It had to be spent by December 30th. Now,
I'm sorry, did it have to be marketing? I mean, was this money from the federal government, did it come with the requirement that the only thing we could spend it on is marketing?
Well, it had to be not the only thing. I mentioned we did manufacturing of PPE as well, but the bulk of the message was a safe travel message, not just now, Mr. Comptroller, but prepare yourself for the future to travel safely as well. So this wasn't just a...
No, I get that. I guess maybe I should start at the beginning with the part where you said you didn't ask for this money, it was given to you. So somebody, I take it from the administration, came to Visit Baltimore and said, we've got all this extra CARES money and we want you to spend $5 million of it devising a message for how people can travel to Baltimore safely now that we're reopening up?
No, that wasn't the ask. The ask was that the hospitality industry in Baltimore City, just like most cities in America, has been decimated. So the industry is hurting, but small businesses, people who run coffee shops and restaurants, are hurting. So there is some additional money that the federal government has to assist the travel and tourism space. What can Visit Baltimore do to create a safe travel message? Because at the time, Baltimore City is still open. What can we do to provide a message to folks to come see us safely? Number one. And number two, can we take the money to help support some of our small businesses, buy them PPE that they don't have? So it was a combination of messages to help Baltimore City collect some tax revenue the best way, but you have to give folks the message to come see us safely. And every city in America was trying to do the same thing.
And who was it who came to visit Baltimore on behalf of the administration and asked you to do this?
Well, I mean, Mayor Young is where I would say starting point, because he was the mayor at the time.
Okay, so I'm trying to get a sense of, so somebody, not you, made a decision that a better use of millions of dollars of federal CARES money for helping small businesses in Baltimore, a better use would be to spend the money buying commercials to encourage people to come support small businesses, as opposed to taking those same millions of dollars and directly helping the small businesses themselves. Somebody else besides you made that call.
This is Acting Solicitor Moore. May I be recognized for a moment, please?
Solicitor Moore.
Okay, so it's December 23, 2020, and we are looking in a rearview mirror at decisions that were made in October 2020 when there was a very different climate, a very different sense of urgency. Those decisions that were made in October were very anxious decisions about how to push out multiple millions of dollars in a way that would have a meaningful impact on Baltimore and its many small women and minority-owned businesses. And those decisions had to be made quickly, and they had to be made with some prudence as well. So as I recall those decisions, the thinking was, how are we best able to get those dollars out in a way that actually helps people? And there was also great urgency in letting people know you can come to Baltimore, but you got to come to Baltimore in a safe and socially responsible way. So it wasn't an analysis of let's do this because it's better than doing that. It was let's do all of these things that are going to actually help Baltimore. So, you know, we can very easily try to reverse engineer all the decisions that were made in October. But I would just remind everyone that we certainly had a different administration. We had a different set of urgency. We were still, I just know from my desk, we were still really trying to figure out what is it that we have here, this COVID thing. How are we going to surf the different waves of pandemic and disease that are confronting us? But most importantly, how do we spend these dollars in a real and meaningful way by the end of the year so that we don't get this money clawed back? I just wanted to add that to the discussion.
Thank you, Madam Solicitor. Yes, Mr. Comptroller.
Yeah, I want to say I understand and I appreciate everything that the Madam Solicitor just clarified, and that is kind of my point here with these questions, and I appreciate the board indulging me on explaining this, because for any casual observer of city business, it looks like we are deciding today to give $5 million for this purpose. And I wanted to make it as explicit as possible that this is the city following through on a commitment made months ago under different circumstances.
Yeah. And
that if we were making that decision today, it might be a different decision. We know things now that we didn't know then, and so that is the case. But I also did want to just make it explicit that at a point in the past, before this board looked exactly the way it looks now, At some point in the past, the decision was made to commit millions of dollars to the idea of trying to market the reopening of Baltimore. And while current evidence may make that look questionable in retrospect, at the time it was its own decision and it was made. And so at this point now, we don't really have much choice but to keep our commitment to Visit Baltimore because they've already spent the money.
Mr. President, can I?
Yes, Mr. Mayor.
I'm sorry, my video function seems to be going in and out. But I just want to point out for the record, as been stated, that these decisions were made by a previous administration, and obviously the world has changed. COVID has changed. I want to always appreciate Al and his shop for doing their great work of showcasing Baltimore, but also the work that they've done to support businesses, in particular, how they've been uplifting our minority city, and even through their marketing campaign, marketing things beyond the typical things that Baltimore market, how they've been showcasing the arts and culture, places and people that are beyond the inner harbor and beyond where the water touches in Baltimore. And just want to say that as we go through COVID and make it out of this pandemic, we are going to be depending on him and his team to help us as we're reimagining visiting Baltimore looks like, and the places and the spaces we want people to be in. We cannot go back and undo decisions. We have to honor our word, as the comptroller said to folks that were made, even if it was made by someone else. But we will do a better job of consistently monitoring where we are with the situation with COVID and making sure that we are making the best decisions to support our businesses and to have people understand how to be safe when they're involved.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Mr. Comptroller, Madam Solicitor, thank you for your comments. I think the one point that was not highlighted as it relates to, I guess, some of the concerns around you, Mr. Comptroller, is also the fact that during that same time period, there were millions upon millions of dollars that were directly given or granted out to help support small businesses. So I want to make sure, just to kind of go back on the record, that it didn't seem like this was a decision to take this money that could have been used for other things, but there was no money that was kind of allocated to small business. I think that it's important to point out that there was millions upon millions of dollars that were also pointed to small businesses, and the fact that we're talking about such a short time period is kind of where we are. So with that, are there any other burning questions, concerns that folks would like to get on the record regarding this particular topic? Hearing none, at this time, I'd like to entertain a motion regarding this item.
I move approval of this item.
I second.
Since it's been properly moved and seconded, all those in favor of this motion say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. The motion is approved. The next item on the non-routine agenda can be found on page 117, recommendations for contract awards rejections. Item 9B5006094, group number 1, SUVs, medium and heavy duty vehicles. And item 10. Go ahead.
Mr. President, I thought we were going to go back to the audit report after we were done.
We're going to go back after we do this item right here.
Okay.
All right. It just made sense to continue with the flow. Is that fair? Let's go. All right. So I'm going to start where you stopped me at. Item 10-B5006095, group number 2, SUVs, medium and heavy duty vehicles. We have received a protest on each of these items from the same entity. Will the parties please identify themselves at this time? We'll first hear on item number 9, Mr. David Sexton from Terex. Are you up?
Yes, good morning. Good morning.
Thank you. You have the floor, Mr. Sexton.
Thank you. I want to thank Mr. Mayor, Mr. President, all the panelists and participants of this meeting this morning for this opportunity to present our protest regarding the two bid numbers you just mentioned. Basically, my name is David Sexton. I'm the territory sales manager for Terex Utilities. Basically, I represent Long Island, New York, all the way down through Virginia, West Virginia, and Pennsylvania. A little bit about Terex real quick. Terex is a publicly traded company, worldwide manufacturer of equipment. One of the divisions that they do manufacture is the bucket trucks, which we are discussing today. Just that Terex is, does have a corporate responsibility to its employees, customers, such as yourself, and communities around the world. And again, I thank you for this this opportunity to present. We had submitted bids for it's bucket trucks for bids 5,6095 and 5,6094. The bids were both rejected. We received letters rejecting both bids due to, I guess there was just maybe some clarification on how long the bids were actually good for. There's a little footnote on our bids that go out that say the bids are only good for 30 days. It's basically a footer on all of our bids as a protection, so to speak. So 2-3 years down the road, somebody doesn't go, oh, we're going to reapproach this pricing now, and there's no expiration date on your bid. So thinking that the pricing is still valid. So, and we are not the only manufacturers of bucket trucks that have those little footers. Our competition does the same thing. It's just a formality, so to speak. So we received letters from City of Baltimore rejecting both of our bids due to the fact that it seemed like the bids expired. They weren't sure what the price was, and since that have awarded the awards to our competition, whom was the only other bidder on both of these items. I've learned since then that those bids to our competition had been rescinded. The protest letter I sent in stated that the competition also had expiration dates on their quotes as well. They actually laid out a specific date where our quote just said 30 days. They actually laid out a specific date. So I believe the award was rescinded for the same reason. So I guess I'm, really here today just to, I guess, ask where the City of Baltimore is going forward with these bucket truck bids, if they're going out for rebid or if they've decided to award another vendor.
Thank you, Mr. Sexton. The staff from the comptroller or Mr. Comptroller, does anyone have anything to add at this time?
I believe this is Dana again. I believe there's someone on from Bureau of Purchasing who respond to what started out as a protest, but now sounds like it's just a request for information. But it might be good to hear from purchasing to see where we are.
I'm not sure if anyone is actually here from purchasing. Is someone here from purchasing? I'm not sure if they're on the line.
Brown, I saw Keisha Brown, I believe, was on.
Yeah, Miss Brown is on the line. Keisha, are you there? I can see her, Mr. President, but I don't see her in the ability to speak.
There she is. Keisha, can you hear us? Can you speak? Yeah, she's on. And she's not muted. Yeah, to the board members, Ms. Brown is on and able to talk, but I'm not sure if she's able to hear us. Or she's having some computer issues. I guess at this time, are there any particular questions for Mr. Sexton?
I can add one more thing to Ms. Moore's point.
Mr. Sexton, if you could hold on 1 second. Sure. I'll allow anybody to ask you any questions. I'll give you a chance to come back in.
Thank you.
Are there any questions from the board for Mr. Sexton?
Acting Solicitor Moore, Mr. Sexton, am I accurate that you are withdrawing your protest and instead are comfortable with moving forward, perhaps offline, with just information on the status of the bid and whether or not there will be a rebid?
So originally, the protest, so between when we entered the protest until now, we're actually protesting that the award went to our competition. But since then, that award has been rescinded. So at this point, since there has been no award and the awards have been rescinded, we're basically here now, as you mentioned, not necessarily as a protest, but information on next steps for direction on whether it be a rebid for these bucket trucks or is it just currently on hold? Is more evaluations being taken? So yeah, I guess it would be more for information purposes at this point since the bids have been rescinded. So if procedurally, what I would suggest we do is allow me to make a motion to deny the protest because it's been withdrawn. We'll get a vote on that. And then I would like to come back and make a suggestion that if in fact we are all wrong and this bid has, the award has not been rescinded, we will bring this back at our next BOE meeting and make the corrections that need to be made. But we kind of, it's on our end. We've got just a couple glitches that are hampering our process.
Yeah. Madam Solicitor, I was going to actually suggest to the board, first and foremost, thank you, Mr. Sexton, for coming to us in its appropriate manner. But I would suggest to the board that maybe we just hold this over to the next board meeting. That way we can allow for procurement to speak up and provide us with all the specifics on the record, and then we decide to move from there. I think that's kind of the appropriate action at this point.
Mr. President, I think Keisha is back. I see her back on.
Yeah, she's been on, but I think maybe she's having some issues communicating. Ms. Brown, can you hear us and speak up? Yeah, I see on my end too, Mr. Mayor, but I think that there's some issues there. So I think the best thing that we can do so we don't belabor this right now is, and we ensure that we're doing everything at good faith, that we just kind of hold this over to the next board meeting and we go from there. Mr. Comptroller, Madam Solicitor, or anybody else on the board, do you guys take issue with that? I don't take issue with it. And can I go ahead and just make a formal motion that we defer this item and move it to the January 13, 2021 agenda? Most certainly. Okay. Let's hear that formal motion. Okay, formal motion.
Formally seconded.
We're going to make the motion first.
You didn't make the motion yet, Mr. Comptroller.
I know, it feels like we got two trains running. So I move that we defer this item to the January 13, 2021 agenda.
Thank you.
Second.
Okay, since it's been properly moved and second, all ayes on this motion, please say aye.
Aye.
All nays, please say nay. Who are opposed to this motion? Since the ayes have it, what we decided is to just defer this to our next meeting. Mr. Sexton, you're more than welcome to come back and join us. I hope that you're able to participate. Again, thank you for bringing your concerns to this body, and we look forward to working through them.
Mr. President?
Yes, Mr. Mayor?
There were two items,
Yeah. So just for the record, okay, that's a great point. Let's say that's for item 10, B50006095. I'm sure, Madam Comptroller, your motion was in posture for that particular item, correct?
Thank you for the promotion. I'm not the comptroller yet.
I'm sorry, I said Madam Solicitor. Your motion was in the posture of item 10.
The day is yours.
Yeah, I'm racking up these promotions here in the last. So let me. I appreciate the very friendly amendment, and So,
let's make the motion for both item 9 and item 10, and then we'll go from there.
okay, I move that item number 10, page 118 of today's agenda, and item number 11 on page 118 of today's agenda both be deferred to the January 13, 2021 Board of Estimates agenda.
Madam Solicitor, I have them as items 9 and 10, not
Yeah, 9 and
11.
10.
Oh, okay, so
9 and 10.
okay. All right, Mr. Comptroller, you make the motion.
I was merely offering a friendly amendment to the friendly amendment that the President had already offered. I find that all of this parliamentary procedure goes so much smoother when it's just among friends.
Yeah, well, listen, my granddaughter's in the room with me this morning, and she's cracking up like, your poor grandma, I can't get it right.
Her grandma's amazing, and this is an important meeting for her grandma, Madam Solicitor. So we're going to do that one more time. So can you do the motion for us one more time?
Items 9 and 10.
Yep.
Good morning. B5. This is 6094 and 6095 are deferred to the January 13, 2021 agenda.
Madam Solicitor, I'm on the line now. This is Keisha Brown.
Hi, Ms. Brown. Thank you so much for joining us. I knew we were having a little technical issue.
Yes,
What we've decided to do for this particular, these two particular items is we're going to move and withdraw them today to move them to the next agenda, the next Board of Estimates hearing. Right now, we have a motion on the floor to actually do that, and I believe I'm about to get a second from Mr. Comptroller.
And I will be seconding the motion.
All right, so since it's been properly moved in second, all ayes, say aye, please.
Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please say nay. Okay, the ayes have it, and we're going to move on to the next item. We're going to move back actually now to, we're going to move back to page 7, the Department of Audit. Mr. Auditor, are you here?
I believe so. Can you hear me?
There we go. Yep, perfect. All right. This virtual age. This is our report. This is the Baltimore City Health Department's biennial performance audit for fiscal years ending in June 30th, 2018, 2019. We will hear from the city auditor now. Mr. Auditor, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Good morning, Mr. President, Mr. Mayor, Mr. Comptroller, and the members of the Board of Estimates. My name is Josh Pash, and I am the city auditor. I am here to present the biennial performance audit for the Department of Health. The objectives of our audit were to determine whether the agency met its performance targets and to evaluate whether the agency has adequately designed internal controls related to those selected performance measures. We also followed up on prior findings and recommendations included in the previous biennial performance audit dated August 6, 2018. The scope of our audit was fiscal years 2018 and 2019. According to the budget books for fiscal years 2018, 19, 20, 21, for service 307, number of clients receiving mental health services through public behavioral health system, and service 717, percent of mandated food service facility inspections completed, the health department did not meet performance target measures for either 2018 or 2019. As a result, we did not validate the measures that were reported. The health department stated that it did not meet the targets for 307 due to lack of clear benchmarks to determine who needs mental health services. And the lack of benchmarks makes it difficult to establish a target. For Service 717, the targets were not met due to lack of staffing. According to those budget books mentioned above, Service 718, percentage of tobacco outlets checked for compliance with Baltimore City laws. The health department did not meet targets for 2019, but did meet the targets for 2018. However, when we looked, their documentation was not maintained for the total number of tobacco retail outlets located within the city of Baltimore, which would be the denominator in that metric. Therefore, we couldn't validate the actual results for 2018. For the health department stated the target for 2019 was not met due to changes in key staff and contractual changes with the vendor. We also looked at the design of internal controls relevant to the audit objectives and these services. Our review indicated a number of process improvements and control improvement opportunities. For Service 307, number of clients receiving mental health services through public behavioral health system, we noted that the analysis of the performance measure revealed that the health department does not have an active role in administering or performing the actions associated with this performance measure. The health department supports the measure by granting funds to Behavioral Health Systems Baltimore to help accomplish these objectives related to mental health services. However, the health department did not form any programmatic monitoring of the activities specified in the grant agreements for either fiscal year. We noted that the grant agreement does not include the performance measure and does not have an impact or a cost from not meeting the performance measure. Without monitoring, the health department cannot verify that the work is performed satisfactorily either by the health department or by the vendor. The second is for Service 307, number of clients receiving mental health services through public behavioral health system. For fiscal years 2016 and 17, actual results were not consistently reported in multiple budget books. According to the health department, the measure is based directly on claims data and is not uncommon for annual claims information to be modified from year to year to reflect retroactive decisions on claims. The payer has multiple months to pay a claim, and therefore, we have multiple months to submit a claim. And so therefore, claims that are submitted after the fiscal year are adjusted in the next year. However, the changes were not noted in the budget book, leading to an appearance of inconsistency between year to year. The third, for Service 717, % of mandated food service facility inspections completed, the health department targets continue to not be met and are not aligned with state requirements. The state requires 100% of required inspections. The agency targets range from 65% to 80% for those fiscal years. The health department stated that they do not have enough environmental sanitarians to meet state-mandated required food service and facility inspections. We also noted that in the state report issued in 2016, the city would need 41 environmental sanitarians to complete all necessary inspections. However, they currently have 14 environmental sanitarians. According to the health department, there is no financial penalty for not meeting the number of inspections. We brought it up because it is a regulation that we're not complying with, and also the risk to public health. The fourth, Service 718, percentage of tobacco outlets checked for compliance with Baltimore City laws. The health department does not accurately capture the overarching state requirements and has not established procedures to align the target with state requirements for the monitoring of tobacco retailers, and does not maintain documentation to support the number of tobacco retailers in the city, which I referred to above would be the denominator in the calculation. The performance measure specifies compliance with Baltimore City laws. However, the Baltimore City law has 9 subtitles, and we are addressing in this measure subtitle 5, which is Unlawful Distribution, which would be distribution to minors. A number of the subtitles have been halted and are not enforceable due to court cases, which prevent them from being monitored and enforced. And then for subtitle 4, that is placement of tobacco products, smoking devices, that is not tracked, and the agency has informed us that they perform that inspection through education visits. However, it's not part of the compliance check, and it's not tracked as being reported. There were a total of 9 prior findings, 5 of them related to inventory. Due to the significant changes in inventory process with the new accounting system, we did not evaluate the process of the previous years of 2018 and 2019. And of the 4 recommendations that we did follow up on, 2 recommendations were partially implemented, and those were the health department did not meet its target for percentage of mandated food service facility inspections, which we also tested and reviewed in this current audit, and the amounts were inconsistently reported in the budget books, which was also noted in the current finding. For the non-implemented findings, There was overdose reversal forms were missing key information such as the number of doses administered when the naloxone worked and was reported by the person who administered naloxone. And then in that same category, various clerical errors were found where the data had not been correctly reported in the row or column totals from the supporting schedules, and we had presented those to the department. That concludes my presentation, and I am ready to answer any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Auditor. At this point, are there any questions from members of the board? Okay, next we will turn to the agency. I think I saw Jennifer on. Jennifer Martin, are you available to speak up for Baltimore City Health Department?
Hi, Mr. President. This is Kelly Eastman.
Oh, Kelly, you're good. Okay, perfect.
Yeah,
okay, thank you.
On behalf of
the floor is yours.
Thank you. I seem to be having problems with my video. Oh, there I am. All right. So thank you, and good morning, everyone. My name is Kelly Eastman. I'm the Interim Chief of Staff at the Baltimore City Health Department. So the Health Department will be implementing the appropriate corrective action plan from the performance audit, of which I'll be reviewing with you now. So for the first finding related to Behavioral Health System Baltimore Service Area 307, we will be working with BHSB to include output measures in the fiscal year 22 contract agreement. We will develop and implement formal policies and procedures to monitor the financial programmatic activities of BHSB supported by city funds by April 30th of 2021. And we will document the monitoring activities performed to demonstrate established policies and procedures are followed. And while we currently do not have staff in place to monitor the programmatic activities of BHSB, and there are currently no funds allotted to hire an individual to perform this task, BCHD will provide the necessary training to a current staff member by December 2021 to perform programmatic monitoring. And we will also be performing a desk audit to monitor fiscal activities of BHSB by September 30th, 2021. For finding number 2, also Service 307, BCHD will coordinate with BBMR to ensure appropriate note disclosure is made in the city budget book anytime a change to the reported actual is made in the subsequent year's budget book by submitting an explanation with the change. Regarding finding number 3, Environmental Inspection Services, Service Area 717. So BCHD does have targets that are established by the Maryland Department of Health, and one such goal is this performance measure. The Maryland Department of Health requires that we do 3 routine inspections per year for high-risk facilities, 2 per year for moderate-risk facilities, and 1 inspection every 2 years for low-risk facilities. And as this performance measure shows, we do not have enough staff to achieve this measure. Our Environmental Inspection Services has set a goal of inspecting each moderate and high-risk facility 1 time per year, this being a more realistic goal to achieve with our current staffing budget. Excuse me. We will conduct a survey to establish a new baseline of staffing needs required to meet the mandatory routine inspections, and we will consult with Department of Health, State Department of Health in the survey of staffing needs. Staffing requirement will likely remain the same unless there is a significant decline in licensed food facilities after the COVID pandemic. This will be done in the first 6 months of 2021. Additionally, we will conduct a salary analysis of our environmental sanitarians in Maryland. Should the salary analysis show that Baltimore City environmental sanitarians' salaries need to be more competitive, it is likely that we will not be able to increase the base salary due to budgetary constraints. This will also be done within the first 6 months of 2021. Excuse me. And finally, for the 4th finding regarding the tobacco program, Service Area 718, so we will be changing the performance measure to provide greater clarity as well as implementing documentation to support the measure. BCHD agrees that the performance measure for Service 718, which is % of tobacco outlets checked for compliance with Baltimore City laws, does not accurately capture all of the state requirements. The ruling in Altitus versus Prince George's County preempted a number of provisions of the Baltimore City Health Code, ostensibly leaving Subtitle 5 as the primary provision remaining that is covered by the measure. Subtitle 4, as mentioned in the audit, is covered during retailer education. With regard to the performance measure being audited, we agree it is set too low based on actual performance as well as state grant requirements to conduct compliance checks. in 70% of retail licensees. BCHD will change the performance measure to make it specific to Baltimore City Health Code Subtitle 5, and the target will be increased to reflect actual performance and to set higher targets in keeping with program capacity and resources, as well as to align with any state grant requirements. We will be implementing this by December 21, 2020. Second, a multi-year target and related goal for this performance measure will be developed by June 30, 2021. And currently, the Tobacco Enforcement Program has a standard operating procedure that will be reviewed annually. The SOP will be reviewed by Maryland Department of Health and a BCHD grants reviewer annually starting January 2021. And then number 4, Baltimore City tobacco retailers are licensed through the state's comptroller's office. Licenses are renewed annually each April. However, licenses may be applied for at any point during the year, and the state issues them on an ongoing basis. Therefore, the number of existing retail licensees can only be taken as a point-in-time snapshot. To keep abreast of ongoing changes in this number, BCHD requests a current list of licensees on a quarterly basis. We have no capacity to track licensees independently and must rely on the state. Developing our own data set would be inaccurate because of the ongoing licensing of retailers. Number 5, currently tobacco enforcement has 3 ways to measure this performance measure. 1 is counter tools, 2 monthly data reports, and 3 educational logs. These mechanisms will be used to capture, track, monitor, and monitor the performance measure that are identifying the roles and responsibilities by June 30th, 2021. And lastly, on a quarterly basis, our Director of Health Promotion and Disease Prevention will request the current list of Baltimore City tobacco retailers. The liaison officer will request, retain, and reconcile the list to determine the actual number of retailers for this performance measure, and the list will be retained by fiscal year and requested on the specified date quarterly, and this will be implemented by June 30, 2021. Thank you, and I'm happy to take any questions.
Thank you, Ms. Eastman. At this point, are there any questions from members of the board? Hearing and seeing no questions from the board, this audit report is noted. This is a special meeting. We all know why this meeting is somewhat special. It's been a pleasure and an honor working with you, Madam Solicitor, as you go in and send to an amazing role that our mayor has created, the Chief Equity Officer for the City of Baltimore, the first in its history. You have been a trailblazer prior to your stint in city government, but as I believe the first African-American female to serve as city solicitor, and now the first person to serve in a role of city equity officer, as a person with 2 young daughters who gets to look up at amazing women like you. You're definitely an example for them. I know you'll continue to do great things for the city. I look forward to partnering with you in the office of the council president. Are there any other comments at this time from any other members of the board?
Yeah.
Mr. President.
Yes. I can only recognize the comptroller if someone take over the comptroller's computer. Mr. Comptroller in Bill Henry fashion.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Oh my God.
As someone who is known around the world for being a gift giver, I wanted to come here and make sure that Madam Solicitor is recognized as someone who has given so much to so many of the people of Baltimore in all of her terms and forms of service so far. And I am looking forward to, as I know all of us here are, seeing what she is able to give Baltimore in her coming role. Thank you so much for your service so far, and happy holidays.
Mr. Comptroller / Santa Claus, please put down the eggnog. Mr. Mayor, I know you have some parting words.
I do. Thank you, Mr. Comptroller, Santa, thank you, Mr. President. I just want to say to Solicitor Moore, I'm going to miss you on the board, but looking forward to the great work you will do as the first executive officer of the city as you look to enforce the equity law and working with all of our agencies. And Mr. President, as you also know, I would like to just mention for everyone on the board that we know we had an explosion downtown, and I know we'll be headed there right now as we close the meeting.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Is there anyone else from the board that would like to address our amazing solicitor?
Mr. President.
Yes, Mr. Graybar. Yes.
Very briefly, I just want to thank Solicitor Moore for everything she's done. Over her career so far, she's been so helpful and supportive of the Department of Public Works and the city overall, and I just look forward to continuing to work for her in this new position. And I think great things are going to come from that. So thank you.
Thank you, Director Garber. At this point, are there any other? Seeing none, as there is no new. I gotta let you close it out. I'm so sorry.
If I could, I just want to say thank you to all of you, fine civic leaders. I admire and adore each of you. Thank you for the nice words. When I was asked to come to the city as the deputy city solicitor, I had no idea that I would fall in love all over again with the city of Baltimore. The law department has been a wonderful, wonderful place to work. I leave it with mixed feelings. I know that the next solicitor will find a very exhausted law department, but ready to continue the hard work. And I really look forward to working with each of you as Baltimore's first chief equity officer. Let's make it real. Let's make it happen. Thank you. Happy holidays, everybody.
You're going to do an amazing job. As there is no more business before the board, we will recess until bid opening at 12 noon. The Board of Estimates will not meet on December the 30th or December the 6th. The board will reconvene on January the 13th. That's January the 13th, 2021. I would like to thank everyone for tuning in. Please enjoy your holidays. Please stay safe. Please continue to wear your mask, socially distance. We love Baltimore, but for us to love Baltimore, we got to protect each other. Goodbye.
All right. Good afternoon. The Board of Estimates is now in session for the receiving and opening of bids. As part of the overall effort to limit transmission of the COVID-19 virus, the Board of Estimates is conducting bid openings virtually. Members of the public can call in to listen to bid openings live by calling 443-984-1696 and entering access code 0817325. Once again, that number is 443-984-1696, entering access code 0817325. Board of Estimates meetings are broadcast live on Charm TV, Channel 25 on Comcast Cable in Baltimore City, and they are also streamed on the internet at https://www.charmtvbaltimore.com/live-stream. The Board of Estimates will continue to conduct bid openings virtually while the state of emergency declared by the Mayor of Baltimore and the Governor of Maryland remains in effect. No addenda were received. Bids to be received today. Number one, for transportation, TR 19007-R, curb repair citywide, with a bid bond or check amount of 2% if the bid is over $100,000, which I think is probably a good bet. And then number two, procurement B50005985, Weatherization Assistance Program and Hvac Services 2020, bid bond, check amount not applicable. So, all right. So do I have to read these? Okay, I'm just passing that out to Matt, and we're going to go through these one at a time. All right, so the first one. Take those out, pass this to Matt, and have the total price, but
It has a bid bond,
where,
page 117.
where's
It's the third tab.
okay. Oh, gonna slide this over. Huh. Oh, you know what? They may have only submitted one copy for that. Oh, so do you have?
Original.
Oh, you have?
Raised and it's signed in blue, so.
Okay, all right.
Okay.
All right, well then I will read that this bid is from Monumental Paving and Excavating in the amount of, $1,480,245 and no cents. Confirmed?
Yep.
Okay.
And it does have a bid bond.
And it does have a bid bond.
Can you
Excellent.
repeat the number, please?
Ooh, that would be $1,480,245 and no cents.
Okay, and was there a bid bond?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, that's number 15. All right, next one. This. That's not what it is. That's an addendum. That's just an addendum. So, there it is. There we go. Bid. I'm not seeing a bid bond.
Yep, there is
Is
one.
it?
And who is this contractor? Bidder?
Ah, here we go. Okay. Yep. All right. I see the bid bond. Okay. And this is. Yeah. Oh my gosh. E&R Services Incorporated. And their bid is for $584,436.00.
Correct.
Okay.
Thank you.
Leave the addendum tucked in. All right. You. All right. Okay. All right. All right. Supposed to be a bid bond.
Yep, we have one.
Yep, there is a bid bond, original stamp. All right, this is from Manuel Luis Construction Company Incorporated. And their bid is $797,847.00.
Correct, I concur.
All right.
Did they have a bid bond?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. There you go. They have a bid bond. And the bidder is J Villa Construction Incorporated. And their bid is $971,480.
Correct.
And then last, but by no means least, that's duplicate. There is a bid bond. And oh, that's the bid bond. Here we go. This bid is from Santos Construction Company Incorporated. And the amount of the bid is $1,146,600.00. Okay. All right.
Okay, all of these will be sent over to the Department of Transportation for their review.
Okay. All right, here we go. Okay. Next, for the Weatherization Assistance Program and HVAC Services 2020. All right, this is the original. Okay, so there's a flash key taped to the bid. Okay. Okay. All right, there's no bid bond for this, right? Okay.
None required.
None required.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, and this bid is from Accurate Insulation. And the
Top right.
total, the grand total is $5,446,843.45.
Yes.
Okay. All right, these are all copies. And this is the sticker for the original.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Original copies. Okay. All right, this is, well, yeah, this was the amount, but it didn't have the name. So I was going back here. This bid is from BMC Services, LLC, and their total bid is $2,101,327.05.
Correct.
Okay. All right. Okay. Thank you. Okay. Okay. Oh, okay. I was wondering if I could get away with just saying that this is from Civic Works because that's already on their letterhead, but this bid is from Civic Works Incorporated, and the amount is $6,506,776.85. Okay. Okay, original. All right, this is from Northeast Energy Services LLC, and their total is $6,496,059.00.
Yep.
That was easy. I'm sorry. Oh, this is the original. Oh, I gotcha. So I'll give you the copies.
Okay.
Okay, and this is from Green and Healthy Homes Initiative Incorporated, and their bid is $6,480,590.85.
I concur. Leaning tower.
Okay. This one is from USA Energy Company Incorporated, and the grand total is $6,196,119.90.
I concur.
Okay. Go. This is from Kane Contracting Incorporated. The grand total is $1,801,120.
Concur?
Oh, I'm sorry, this is all here. Pardon? Okay. And with this one, no, this is the next one.
New one.
Yeah. Reading from the original, this is from Reliable Kane Heating and Cooling in the amount of $1,768,395.
Say one.
I'm sorry. Yeah. Say again. This is $1,768,395.
Yep.
Okay. Thank you.
I just have a question. For Kane Contracting and Reliable Kane Heating and Cooling, do we in fact have two different
Yes.
companies with the same address?
Oh, I didn't check I didn't.
They're both at 517 Scott Street.
The same gentleman turned in both solicitations under two different entities, but they both had the same address. That's correct.
The one person submitted both,
Well, one person at least delivered the bids.
one person, so it was delivered by the same person.
What's the
Okay.
difference in bid? Is there any?
It's very little, $33,000 difference. So,
Are you allowed to?
what I think we will do is just let Bureau of Procurement review all of them, and then the law department will be available if there's concerns. It's unusual. I've been doing this for 3 years, and this is the first time we've had something with the same, similar, with almost the same name, with the exact same address, with a bid that is so close in number. So we'll take a look and see what's going on. Out of an abundance of caution, I would say we refer both to the law department.
Agreed.
And, okay.
Mhm.
All right.
Unless there is other business before the body, I would be happy. Oh.
I just wanted to say, Mr. Comptroller, I just wanted to thank Madam Solicitor. This is possibly your last bid opening, so I just wanted to thank you. And you're always very attentive to the details to make sure that this process is fair and appropriate and above board. So I just wanted to thank you for that.
Thank you.
Madam Solicitor, I echo the sentiments. I had wanted to say something to you earlier at the Board of Estimates meeting. I was unceremoniously removed from my chair before the end by a visitor.
Santa Claus, as I recall.
But I want to say, as me, I have appreciated your counsel in really all of the different roles in which you have served the city over the last several years, and I look forward to you turning your attention towards this particular bailiwick, and I think that the city is in good hands. Equitably speaking.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I have absolutely, completely enjoyed my service as city solicitor and deputy solicitor and acting. And as I started to say earlier, I fell in love with the law department. And if you can love a thing, an organization, I absolutely do, and just the best colleagues. The new solicitor will get just a wonderful set of new colleagues and ready to do the work. I have enjoyed working with each of you. You taught me how to do this job. I have you know, it's sort of, when I came, you were like, no, you need to write it down and stop, you know, Glenn was like, stop making notes in the margins because we don't know what you're talking about. And if you could write legibly, and sometimes you'll notice when you get my little sheets, sometimes I go over the numbers 3 and 4 times so you can be sure to read them. But you guys taught me to do that, and it's been a pleasure. Matt, we've been through it, haven't we?
We've been through something.
We've been through it. We've had some tough times here in 2020, and you know, Comptroller Henry, it's just a delight to see you here. We have been friends for a long time, and even before we were friends, my husband was friends with your dad.
Yes.
And I just have to take a moment, and I know time is short, but Comptroller Henry's father taught me how to be a liquor board commissioner. And I used to, yes, we got history. Yeah. And I used to see him in Charles Village, which is where my husband and I live, and he'd say, well, you got to ask these questions, and you just can't pay attention to what the inspectors say. You got to do your own work. And it was just, I was getting history lessons right there at the Starbucks on St. Paul Street. He was just a wonderful, wonderful man. And you and your sister were blessed to have such a good dad.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
He has given Baltimore a real treasure, which is you. So thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, yes, so I move. You know, I'm not so good at motions today because my emotions are taking over. But I move. I'd like to make a motion that the bids of Kane Contracting, Inc. at 517 Scott Street and Reliable Kane Heating and Cooling, also at 517 Scott Street, be referred to the Law Department for their closer review as to the bids, given the similarity in bidder and price.
If we were really doing this virtually, we could second that motion. But since we are here in person, Mr. Garwork, would you care to second that motion?
I would appreciate that. Yes, I will second that motion.
All right, all in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Nay. Motion carries. Thank you all, and without further ado, this meeting is adjourned.
What a way to end. Thank you. Yeah.